Hey crafty friends, today we are going to put together this felt alligator. This is a great project for beginner sewers who have never sewn before or someone who wants a simple project that can be put together in less than an hour. I have a link in the description below for a free pattern on my website, so go ahead, click that link, print your pattern, come back here, and we will sew this together. To make this alligator felt plushie, you'll need the following supplies. Some felt in the colors that you want your alligators. I have one color for the body and legs, one color for the spines, and some white for the teeth. Scissors that can cut through felt, some thread to sew it together. This is embroidery floss. It's just a little bit thicker than normal thread. You can use normal thread too, or embroidery floss, whatever you have, use that. Something to trace your pattern with, something to sew. So this is an embroidery needle. It does have a thicker eye up here for the thicker thread. You can use a normal needle too. Pins, these are optional. I just think they help hold the pattern together a little bit better when you're sewing. Something to stuff your plushie with. This is polyfill. This is what's in normal stuffed animals. You can also use felt scraps, cotton balls. I've used torn up plastic bags before, so use something that you have. And then the pattern, again, click the link in the description below. Just click and print and come back here and we will cut this out together. Once you have your pattern cut out, it's time to start tracing it. Now, as you're lining it up to trace it, don't just put your pattern in the middle of your felt. Put it right at the edge so that you can maximize your felt use. And all of these that say cut to, trace them one time on the side with the words and then flip it over and trace it the next time on the opposite side. This will just make it match up better when we're sewing it together. So go ahead, get your pattern traced and come back. Once you have your pattern pieces all traced, it's time to start cutting them out. Now, as you're cutting them, cut slow and cut off any of your tracing marks. So I'm just cutting inside this, real slow cuts, and cutting my lines of the pattern off. This is so it doesn't show up in our finished plush. And as you're cutting out your plushes, hang on to any of the felt scraps you have. These work great as filler for your finished animal. If you don't want to use polyfill, or even with your polyfill, this is a great way to use those pieces, so hang on to them. Go ahead, pause the video, cut out all your pieces, and come on back. Once you have all your pieces cut out, we're going to start by sewing some eyes onto our alligator. So I just threaded my needle and I'm going to do a loop knot at the end where you put both edges of the string together, tie a loop, put your end through, knot it. And then we're going to start from the back side of the crocodile and we are going to sew two eyes on. So I like to find where they are by putting my pieces one on top of the other. We're going to peel him up. We're going to put an eye right here. I'm going to go through most of the way, and then I'm going to go back through pretty close to where I started, pull it, and knot all the way tight here until I have the needle through the middle of these two threads, and then I'm going to pull it tight. And if I look at the front, I have an eye, but it's a pretty small eye, and I want my eye to be a little bit bigger, so I'm just going to repeat this a few times. I'm going to go back through the front. This time I'm going to pull it all the way tight and through. And then I'm going to cross over where that first dot was. Now my eye's a little bigger, and I'm going to go one more time. Putting it through, then crossing back into my original hole. And there we go. That's a little bit bigger of an eye. And then we're going to knot this off in the back by putting our string through this bundle of threads, wrapping it once, twice around our needle. I put my thumb over it to hold it in place and pull this tight through. I'm going to trim my threads. All right, so now we have an eye. On one side, we want to do an eye on the second side, so we are going to repeat those steps. We're just going to make sure that the messy side of the knot is on the inside for both of them. So there's my messy eye and my clean eye, and on this one, I want the messy to be on the opposite. So going through on this side. All right, so once we have eyes on both sides, we are going to start putting on our legs. So find your legs and then line them up on your alligator. And then I'm going to change my thread into my matching felt. All right, and I'm going to do another parallel knot right here. All right, and just like I did with the eye, I am going to sew these legs on. I'm going to go through both pieces of felt this time. Go back through both pieces of felt. There's where my loop is. Pull it through. And this time I don't really care how big this knot is. I don't need to see it. So I'm just going to go once, and I'm going to put my needle through this bundle, wrap the string once, twice around it, and pull it through. We're going to go ahead and repeat those steps for all 4 of these legs. Okay, so now we have the legs for our alligator and the eyes. We've got the messy knots on the inside. When we line them up, those messy knots are all hidden. This is a good time if you're using pins to pin your alligator together. And I am going to take this back spine, line it up on my alligator. If you're not using pins, don't worry about doing this part. We're going to put it in as we go. If you are using pins, get your body and face aligned, and you can go through all the pieces of felt and then back forward. You are going to want to be careful with this as you're sewing. And then this time I'm going to take a pretty long piece of thread. I usually measure from my fingertips all the way across my body and to my elbow on my second arm. If you end up having too short of a string, that's fine. You can just knot it off, kind of how we did with those legs, and add a new string. But it's certainly easier if you don't have to do that. All right, this time I am doing a single knot. I'm not doing the 2 threads together, just one, tying one little knot. And I like to pull the string down as low as I can, so I've got a little bit less to deal with, but I'm not sewing double. And we're going to come right here behind the legs. We're going to line up that felt really good. We're going to put our needle through both pieces of felt. Pull it, pull it, pull it, pull it, all the way to the end where our knot is. And then we're just going to kind of put the needle. We don't have 2 lines of sewing thread this time, so we're going to put it in the middle of this bundle, and we're going to pull this into a knot. So there's our first stitch. And now we are going to do a simplified blanket stitch all the way around the bottom of the tail. So to do that, you're going to go through both pieces of felt, and you're going to grab this tail end where it just came through, and you're going to wrap it over the front of the needle and then pull it all the way through. You're going to want to be careful not to get it caught on anything. We're going to go through both pieces of felt, over the top, pull it all the way through. And through both pieces of felt, over the top, pull it all the way through. And we're just going to continue this all the way through the end of the tail. Once you finish your blanket stitch down the tail, it's time to start adding your back spines. If you don't have them pinned, so just lay them in there however they match up. Pull the tail to the end. And now, instead of doing a blanket stitch, we're going to do what's called a running stitch, which I think is even easier than the blanket stitch. So we're going to put your needle through all 3 pieces of felt. Especially at the beginning, you're going to want to be careful and make sure you're getting all 3. Pull your needle all the way through to the end. And then you can flip your creature over. You're going to go down just a little bit. And then again, slowly and carefully go through all 3 pieces of felt. Pull it out. Down a little bit, through all 3 pieces of felt. Pull it out. So we're just going to go kind of in and out, back and forth. We're going to do this the whole length of these back spines. If you're not using pins, just keep an eye on where your spines are as you're sewing. Make sure they haven't fallen too far. Just continue this in and out stitch all the way up to your alligator's head. All right, and because this is a longer creature, we're going to pause here with just a few lines, and you're going to put some of your stuffing in if you want this tail stuffed, because it's going to be really hard to reach later. So I am going to use some of my felt scraps. So I'm just going to pause right here, push it into the end of the tail, and it is too small for my fingers to reach. So I'm going to grab the back of my scissors and just gently, gently maneuver it in. All right, once you have a little bit of felt, we're going to keep going. Or once you've got a little bit stuffed, pull that last stitch tight, and you're going to keep going up a few more inches, maybe like here, and then we're going to pause and we're going to stuff it again. Okay, I'm going to pause right here, and I'm going to stuff a little bit more into that tail. And if your felt pieces are too big, feel free to trim them down as you go. Now, you don't need to keep pausing to stuff as we're going over the back. We'll be able to get that from when we're stuffing the middle of it. So now you can just continue with your running stitch all the way until we get to the end of the back spines. Once you finish your running stitch all along the spines, we're going to go back to a blanket stitch from here all the way to his nose, and then we're going to stop so that we can put those teeth in. Just go slow and easy if it's bunching. All right, so I'm going to pause right here and I'm going to find the teeth. So the smaller teeth go on top. So I'm going to start right there. I'm going to pull the flaps apart and I'm going to insert those teeth. And then right around the nose, we're going to go back to the running stitch, just that in and out stitch that we did to attach the spines. We're going to use that same stitch to attach these teeth. So in and out. Make sure you're just getting all the pieces of felt. Go slow. This is kind of a smaller part with these teeth. Now that we have those first set of teeth attached, if you want to stuff this part of the nose, this is the time to do it. You are going to need just a little bit of stuffing or felt for this. Again, you're probably going to want your scissor tips or maybe a pencil to get that felt pushed all the way down into the nose. All right, and once we have our top teeth added, you're going to grab your bottom teeth, place them in the mouth, and then we're going to continue that running stitch to attach these to the bottom. And now that we have the teeth attached, we're going to continue with that blanket stitch from the bottom of his jaw to this front set of legs. And then we're going to pause right there and stuff the inside of our alligator. The blanket stitch is where you go through both pieces of felt, then pull it over the end of your needle, through both pieces of felt, grab the tail and pull it over the top of your needle, and then pull it all the way through. Splitting those arms apart as I'm getting down so they're out of my way. If you find your felt's getting really unaligned, just try and line up the edges. It's okay if it isn't aligned in the middle because we're going to put stuffing in there. All right, and now I'm going to pause right here and I'm going to stuff this bottom jaw piece first. You're going to want to stuff the furthest away things first. So I'm going to do this bottom jaw and the top of the tail, and then we'll stuff the inside last. All right, and once you have your alligator filled up good, then we're going to continue that blanket stitch all the way to the end where we started. This time is going to be a little trickier because we've got a lot of stuff in the middle that we've got to be careful not to catch. So pull your last stitch tight. This time you're just going to want to make sure you're getting both edges of your felt. Pull the tail over the top. Pull it through and smush it in for the next step. You're going to probably be pushing your stuffing in each stitch until the end. Try and get the two edges and pull it through. All right, so I am here back at my starting stitch and we're just going to go through it, wrap the thread around your needle twice and pull it all the way out. And then we're going to take your needle and you're going to carefully poke it back through your animal and out the side. Pull that thread tight. You're going to put your scissors along the side of it and then pull that string tight against the body and snip it. Should disappear inside your alligator. If you use polyfill like me, I like felt because it's a little cleaner. You might have some of these strands here at the end just to pull out to tidy up those edges, but we are finished with our alligator. He's so cute. If you like this and you're interested in more free, fun felt creatures, come back next Monday and I will have another pattern. Be sure to like, follow along, subscribe, and let me know what you want me to sew.